All right, good job, Max. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. I hope for. Are there any other additions to the agenda? I added book storage. Because we wanted to talk about that. No?
It's on. We have, Max sent out a lot of things.
Okay, all right, that's
This is
the one from Belleville.
yeah, this is a heat pump.
Yeah.
Max sent out a, Joseph Sincata.
Yeah. Do you want to add it?
I mean,
I would like to hold off and see if those doors ever had glass in them. And
I would like to, yeah.
For Oakland Week 2000, Diana Brown and I scanned every photo that the Historic Society had and all the photos in Memorial Hall. And we created a CD that we sold to raise money for Oakland Week 2000. We gave one to the library. I don't know what it is. How far back is your photos? Everything that the Historic Society had. Because they were at that time in a room there, and we went through the whole thing. Gave a CD to the library, hopefully we can find it, but we also gave one to the Historic Society. And I sent a note out to Julie to see if I could borrow it. I know it had some old pictures of the library. And we can see if those doors ever had glass.
It would have been before 80, because there's a photo from
way before 80.
There was no glass then.
Yeah, way before 80. It was built in what, 1905.
We have a whole bunch of old town reports that go back to the early 1900s. So could up in the attic and look at those and see if there's anything in there.
Okay.
Old town reports right here.
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
That we have to preserve somehow, but how many pictures were in those?
No, there may have been, like, what year was it built? 18.
So I'm gonna help us out here and say, so am I adding, we just had this conversation, so I'm gonna add front door to the potential agenda, and then you wanna keep on going?
We'll discuss this and then get rid of it.
Should we just vote, table that for the time being?
Table until we can
have
find an old picture. Okay.
The other thing is, Max sent out a notice about Southern Vermont Natural History Museum. The 22nd of September.
Yeah.
September. Yeah. At Mount Snow. If anybody want to volunteer for that.
On the 22nd.
So I wondered, this is a good question for in the general discussion. So the revive, there's a couple of things that were sent out as separate, but I thought of them all as part of the director's report. That was my view, even though they came out as some separate. So I don't think we need to add them, I would suggest, to the potential agenda because they're all under the auspices of wide direct, right? Versus the
additions
door.
to his report.
Right.
Okay.
So if people are comfortable with that,
I think that makes sense.
then
That makes sense. Sure.
because I think there's a discussion to be had about friends of the library, like how do volunteers work, and that's all new information. So I think there's some things to do that.
So yeah.
And that's the same weekend as the soup stroll, right?
Correct.
They've already asked for volunteers for that.
They've already asked us to put up a tent and
Well, Friday night is
Serve.
the soup strolls, Saturdays the wine and heart, fest at Mount Snow.
and that's right for that.
And then that says Sunday,
It's a Sunday.
so the rest of the whole weekend.
We'll do it with that. All right. Couple of comments we can eliminate because we don't have any public yet. Unless there's somebody there with comments.
Usually it pops up another screen when there's interviews.
Yeah, so far we are the only participants. Right.
Moving to Marie's report for July 9th. And what we'll be doing is what you did very nicely at the last one. They're just under treasurer's report or under secretary's report, whatever. So, any questions on Marie? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Sorry.
All in favor? All right. Thank you. Good job, Marie. Louis, you're up.
Not much to report, it's 1 month,
I did have one question though.
okay.
1 month in and we. Oh, that's negative. Never mind.
The
I
only,
don't have any questions.
I noticed that, the heating oil. We've prepaid for 900 gallons. For the coming heating season.
Mhm.
We used slightly over, I think my memory serves me 936 gallons last year. But,
Can we get our money back? If heat pumps are working and we don't need the furnace at all?
we can either get our money back or apply it to next year's, yes, they're very good about that.
Okay. Questions for you?
I had a wonder, but I think it maybe is in the director's report, but I saw that there was $3,000 for online services, and then I thought about the revolver, is that mistaken? So I was like, oh, well, that's 2,700, so I didn't know what we do for online services, but,
Like what's in that category?
right, because if doing a new website, then it's gonna cost 2,700, that seems like maybe.
That could fall, yeah,
Right, so,
services and computer and equipment.
A listing of the online services before.
I don't know,
There were some that Good Friends paid for and some that we paid for.
okay,
yeah,
okay, so that was a wonder I had, about what was in there, so,
yes. I don't have it,
okay.
I'll be guessing at the moment.
Actually, isn't Biblionics in there too?
Yes, would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was going away at some point in the next fiscal year, correct?
We can talk about that.
Yeah,
We also have some heavy expenditures to get to the new program.
Right.
Yes.
So we'll probably be over that. No, yeah, probably. If no other questions, I'll accept a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a second.
I'll second motion.
All in favor? All right. Okay, what we didn't talk about was fund management, but we hasn't had a chance to connect with the guy at Merrill Lynch who was in Michigan this past week. So we'll just table that until next month. Director's report, you are up. Max. We're usually nice to the directors. Yeah.
Really buckle up, I leaned into extensive with this, so sorry, man. I figured, as far as, statistics, I think they pretty much speak for themselves, we had quite a few people in the first month I was here, circulation was good. Attendance to programs was good.
I do have a question on Laura's.
Yes,
30 attendees on July 29.
yes,
So that means only 4 attendees for the rest of the youth programs?
yes, as far as my time here, and it's what I was able to glean from our statistics. She did story time, I know she did some off-site, programs in association with Wings. Did not have statistics on those as far as attendance goes, so that is something as we move forward, I need to make sure that we're tightening that up, but that essentially story time, yeah, the story time had 4 attendees prior to that 30 attendees. On July 29th, I know this past story time had 4 attendees alone, so there were more. The one that ran this week had more attendees than the previous month.
Okay, because it says 5 programs, 38 attendees. So only
Big.
4 attended, 3.
Yes,
Okay, just. She isn't doing Molly Stark Park, is she?
she is.
She
She
is?
has started splitting time between here and Molly Stark. I know next week, next Monday, she's going to Molly Stark to do story time over there. So she's trying to break it out. And we had a discussion, pertaining, obviously we want people to come here too, but we also want to honor and keep that agreement going. So for right now, as she kind of feels out how that works, that it would be nice to kind of switch back and forth, and that way we're still drawing kids here. We had 4 or 5, it's on my list over there, 4 or 5 attendees, just this past Monday for story time here, so kids are coming in, we've had a lot of kids come in, we also had a decent amount of kids come in for the Lego Club last Friday, this obviously isn't reflected on this release statistics, but,
I can tell you about Wings because I did the 15th, if you want a synopsis. Hers was similar to what I did.
Oh, okay.
So there were 4 groups that we met with, and so we had our own little schedule, so they all are in like a camp group by grade level. And so then we went to their classroom and we did real life. So like I did incoming kindergartners and first graders, and we did work in their theme. We tried to match it to the theme that they were doing for that week. So that week in that grade, it was nature. So I read a book about spreading kindness, and then I had the loop-ins from our school butterfly garden. And so we threw the buds and spread kindness around the school garden and then and she did something with spying, but she borrowed my binoculars, and for her group that was doing nature, they read about observing, and then they went outside and they like tried to look for birds and things in the woods in our school. We had a half hour for each group. Another group was the Olympics. She did an Olympic one too. So like I read the biography of Wilma Rudolph, and then that actually took the whole time because the kids had just seen a video about Usain Bolt. And so then Wilma Rudolph was the fastest woman during that period. So we had this whole, and then someone knew the fastest kid in the United States. So what is happening at the time? We were all like in a big old discussion and off the line. So, 16 kids per group. And I know that was pretty steady. They had it for 3 weeks, the Wings program. And it was the first year the library had been asked to go and do something like that. So my only feedback, like one group was out in the woods, so they didn't come back in from my recollection. And it was Monday, it was the first day, and they'd never done it before. So it was like, I got an apology from that director, like Maria, like that instructor, like Maria, we were so busy. I'm like, no worries, it's camp. I understand camp. Like another group, we did a fire drill. So, so it's definitely camp light, but I would recommend next year maybe doing it like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, so that because they rotate the instructors too. So it wasn't like, oh, here's your staff. And it was like, oh, you're new. Oh, this week it's Louie and Marie. Oh, next week so everybody was getting their feet wet at the same time kind of thing. But yeah, so that I would say, and that's Laura did a similar thing where she brought books for each group, and then we were asked to do an activity to go along with it, like a quick one. So that's what.
so, yeah, as I was saying, thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't have a whole lot of
No.
details on that one, having, and
Just a wrap.
yeah. But she did have a really good turnout for the July 19th tea party. And in addition to the general audience program she did that afternoon, the Blue Oyster Mushroom event brought in about 30 people as well. So much so that we were struggling to find space for them up here. Yeah, which led to some good conversations about future planning when we anticipate larger crowds. I think we're going to try to move the shelves away and move them out there. She conducted it in here because we weren't sure how many people would turn out. and we had overflow. People were in the computer room trying to listen to her present, so which is a good problem, I think. So that was really encouraging. Um, other, of our regular scheduled programming has had what I've been told was pretty consistent with historically what they've done, at least in recent history. We had, the writers group had 4 attendees this past month, as did the poetry party program that Jennifer runs. Lego Club like consistently draws, and I think that's where that 38 is coming from. I included that in the juvenile program since it's primarily kids who come out. There were some off days last month where I didn't think anybody came out, but from what I've gathered, when it is happening, it generally draws 2 to 3. I think this last week it drew 5. I had patrons ask who were interested in their kids coming, whether it was program, whether somebody was leading the program, and so now it kind of seems to be a bit free, they just kind of get together and build and kind of to converse. I do think the program might benefit from having kind of a more structured, whether it's one of the staff here or if we can find a volunteer who's interested in coming in and just kind of organizing it a little bit. I had a patron come in and say, "Oh yeah, we did that in our library," and they would have building contests. So whoever was facilitating the program come and say, "Okay, today we're going to build this," and they said the kids really responded, pretty well to that. So I think that's something I want to explore is maybe seeing if we can find a volunteer or if one of us can make time to do that on a Friday just to kind of throw a little structure around it, get some
Yeah.
more kids involved. We have such a cool collection of Legos, and it's honestly probably the most popular thing we have downstairs. I mean, kids come in. There were kids there today.
What ages are they?
It varies. This last one we had somebody probably about as young as 3 or 4 down there with his father, and then a couple older kids who were probably closer to 9 or 10. So there is like an age gap. I think that's again where you could probably use a little structuring so that maybe the younger kids can be working on one thing, the older kids aren't, feeling like they have to hang out with the younger kids when they want to build more flex or building. So it's something to explore that I want to kind of look into.
I don't recall exactly when it is. I want to say it's sometime in November. The Brattleboro Museum and Arts Center.
Yeah.
Host the Lego competition.
Wow.
And there seem to be a lot of people that enter stuff, adults, kids, whatever. They have a lot of different categories.
Very cool. I'll check out.
Yeah, like
Yeah, we had kids in our community before, but not necessarily based upon the library, but just in our community do it.
yeah, and whether or not we can build towards, you can enter
Yeah, it'd
this.
be interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
And it sounded like it was a pain in the butt to get the builds there.
Right.
Not
Yeah, that
open.
makes sense.
And then you have to go back like in 2 days to pick it up or something like that, but
It says it's November 21st through the 23rd.
yeah, it's November.
So that would be something.
But
again.
there have been
So
some,
any group,
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We have some pretty cool builds downstairs. I mean, we have our little hall of fame there. Some of the stuff's pretty neat. I did ward my kid off. I mean, he wanted to play with them. I said, "Man, you can't touch those," but we worked really hard on that. I really appreciate it. So, I would like to explore that further. We also discussed, new programming ideas at our last staff meeting. As I kind of settle in more and we try to revive that a little bit. We talked about reprising past programs. I know there was I think it was like a crocheting and craft program they ran for a while that
yeah,
everybody else seemed pretty interested in. That we were talking about maybe trying to revive. We talked about like a how-to type program, see if we could get community interest and maybe having volunteers come in and patrons.
What's your do?
Yeah, your name was actually brought up. You might be approached in the near future about.
you have like your cards.
Yeah, programs. That was discussed. I'm gonna run a pilot movie night program on the 22nd this month just to see if I can get anybody out.
Okay, it's gonna be advertised, but you can't advertise the name
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah.
I noticed our thing outside hasn't been used.
Yes, I need to.
I think we can start pulling or let people know what's going on this week.
Absolutely.
Oh, good idea, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. We were discussing that the other day, so I need to jump on that and start updating that. I've been trying to keep the website updated, but I have fallen behind on our physical sign out there, so I need to make sure that we're getting on that, updating that more.
Is Hope coming back in September? As far as
Sure,
Mr.
hope so.
Right, okay.
That's program.
Sure, right, because next month it'll be,
She did sign the contract
okay,
as a, so this was an interim
right.
leave of
Except
absence.
I don't know when Beaverbrook camp, I mean, school starts for the kids on the 28th, which is a Wednesday, public school. So I don't know if camp ends, yep,
Yeah.
and I don't know if camp then for the kids would end on like Friday the 23rd. So that's what I was wondering.
Glad you brought that up. That's one of my questions. If anybody, I have yet to hear from Hope. So I've sent a couple emails out and haven't gotten any responses. So I was hoping that somebody had heard from her and that she was planning to come back.
Haven't heard from her, but she originally wrote a letter of resignation and we talked her into a letter of a leave of absence with her returning in September.
Yes. Hopefully she surfaces soon, and I guess we can revisit that next
Yeah.
month if that.
And if she doesn't use her, we should find someone else.
Yeah.
Fast.
Yeah, it would be helpful to have somebody dedicated to programming, at least their primary position, because the rest of us are kind of running around in a couple different directions, and I feel like programming is being languishing a little bit.
May I suggest that you invite her? I think maybe just, because all of it, like, her kid, so go to the staff meeting on August 20th at 4.
Yes.
I think just send that email, and then you should get a response, that will help you know.
Mm.
And it will also remind, like, she's in the midst of two little, well, you know this world, better than I do at this point, so.
Oh, yes.
So I think some are still in the present moment versus like, oh yeah, school, her little people don't go to school.
Right.
So, Lauren might be going to preschool.
Excellent idea.
Yeah, I will reach back out to her.
Yeah.
I invited her to the last one, but I haven't gotten a response, but I just need to keep on that, and I will. Other than that, I met with Christine Sweeter over at the Whitingham Library. We discussed the Vermont Reads programming that we're going to do for this year's book, which is called Gathered by Kenneth Cadeau. Christine's kind of taken the lead on that, obviously, as I kind of get my feet under me.
Do we have copies of it?
Christine was ordering it. We met 2 weeks ago. She's going to order the copies. We are going to make that, I believe, our November book club selection. I'm going to facilitate that. Christine has already applied for a grant to conduct the collaborative program about that. That'll take place here on, I believe it's the November 20th meeting, which is when our book club would normally meet anyway. So they're gonna come up here. We're gonna either, if we get this grant, one part of the grant would be bringing the author himself in, so that's what we're really shooting for. That one's pretty competitive from what she said, so we're feeling out if we can get him here. If not, they do offer free discussing facilitators, the state does, so they'd be happy to send a facilitator down to kind of lead discussion.
Is that Vermont Humanities that's
Yes.
doing that?
And so they will be, so, at the very least, we'll be having a facilitator and, we're gonna meet and talk to the staff about kind of coming up, especially with Laura, some programming ideas around that. Her, the agreement with the Vermont Reads program, and then we're gonna come up with some displays of, other suggested reading for adults and for children, and kind of just advertise that coming months, probably starting next month. We'll start to ramp that up. So I can keep everybody apprised, as me and Christine kind of work together on that, so it's a nice collaboration. I was contacted by a musical group.
I was.
Not a whole lot, it's 2 people, they are acoustic primarily, so there'll be like a little bit of amplification, but nothing like we're not inviting a rock band in, so I think they could do it. inside or outside. I would imagine inside would probably be maybe a more comfortable choice, but I just wanted to get this on your radar because it kind of came out of left field and I was like, that's interesting. They don't charge a whole lot, so it's a little expensive for a perk, but less than a lot of musical acts would be. And they have been featured, they tour libraries pretty extensively across the country.
And what genre, like children, like Bill
It's like-
Chauncey kind of stuff,
it's
or is
like
it more?
folky, hipstery, so it's kind of geared towards more like a young adult audience, which I thought might be a
Yeah,
cool way
I
to
guess this
maybe
is-
draw some young. That's them. That's them. They've been featured on Portlandia and a couple
Oh,
other,
that's funny.
a couple other popular TV shows. So interesting program idea. I thought,
yeah.
they do all the everyone that 500 covers all their room board. That's their traveling expenses. They promote it. They do all the legwork for that. So we do a little in-house promotion, maybe around the town and the region, and just have a space for them.
Well, I would be interested in seeing how many people they normally attract, because if it's too many,
Right.
we always have the option of trying to get into Memorial Hall
Yeah,
in the spring.
Okay.
yeah.
And I was thinking about the village stroll, combining with. In the winter, we do something, there is a winter like that, like we have that craft fair and stuff, but I don't know
Yeah,
how
that's
regularly, I don't know if it's a whole. I don't know what the whole weekend is, but in the spring, they definitely start the stroll, was it June? The B one, was that June?
Definitely looks like they're into the library scene though.
But if we had it here, like on the lawn, that's what I was
Right.
thinking.
But if it was raining, for the blueberry block party, the band was next door at
Yeah.
the old church.
Yeah,
And I'm just they have a larger open space.
Right.
So I wonder if we could, maybe do a 50-50 and have them cover some of the costs.
Right.
But I do like the idea of Memorial Hall, but if it's a large space with only a few people.
Yeah, it feels like-
That's.
I don't know how many people they normally attract.
Yeah. Questions.
So I think we're interested.
Okay.
Sounds
I'll
like,
follow-
right?
yeah, say we're interested, yeah.
I'll follow up with them and get a little bit more information and see. Yeah, I think they give me a date range of like late November, December, or spring. I thought spring would maybe be a little more feasible. I don't, but yeah, I wanted to.
Yeah, or check with Wilmington, are you talking Samantha, are you talking with people at Wilmington Works or the Chamber and see?
To meet them, yes.
And see if they're doing anything in December, just to give us
Yeah.
some options, because that's when Memorial Hall might be a good idea, like they would love something indoors that was fun to do that evening.
I think they close up the hall after the craft fair.
Okay.
Well, we did it
It'd
the
be
night of
nice.
the craft
Yeah.
fair, but that
Yeah.
would get a lot.
With the craft fair,
No, the
No,
night of it.
Yeah,
We used to do Santa Claus, fire department used to do Santa Claus down there, but now it's at the fire station. So we always went in at the end of the craft fair and have to set everything up, decorate the stage, blah, 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 get the queue made. It's doable with help. With hands on. But if they close up after the craft fair, maybe we could do it that night.
right, or if you, like you said, if there was. Okay,
If there was
Yeah,
interest
see what
next
they're-
door.
see what's happening around town.
how many people, how many people they think, and then.
Yeah, that's a good question, that's great.
Sounds like a plan. I will get more information on that. As far as operations, we held the book sale August 3rd. Despite being kind of truncated from the weather, we were able to raise a little over $1,000 in revenue. So that's pretty awesome. As Monique can attest to, there was some discussion about possibly doing a supplemental book sale to kind of make up for the day we missed. I don't know that there was anything decided on that. There were some ideas thrown out about Labor Day or the Wine and Harvest Festival.
My feeling was. It was trying to get two major things close together.
Right.
And getting that thing set up is an awful lot of plugging and setting up. But I know that we were approached about the stroll. having a tent set up here for soup,
Musician. Oh,
soup and a musician.
It would be a soup
But-
station as well. Yeah.
Why can't we put up a tent and throw some
That's a
books
great
out
idea.
there?
That was my thought too, even if it's a smaller version of it where we have maybe a table or two with some of the books that moved faster, you know, in the initial sale.
There were,
see, the problem is I didn't come to the sale last year. I think I got like 20 bucks.
oh, you know,
We just finished reading them, you know.
Thank you for support.
Yeah.
but yeah, there was a lot of people. I mean, we were packing up because we were really short on volunteers and, I was here at the beginning and the end, but there were some people that were here the whole day. Just all day, and that's a long time.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't start until 2:30. We didn't even start setting up until 2:30, which was different.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Patrice felt that she was waiting for Wilmington Works to make the decision if it was gonna be outdoors or if it was going to be over at OSAC. And that decision was made at 2:30, so she made a command decision that we're not gonna set up outside
Yeah.
if it's gonna be pouring.
Right.
And the alternative was to set up in here rather than to try and truck everything over
Yeah.
to OSAC. So that's why it was so short.
I thought the block party didn't even start till 5.
It doesn't,
Oh, okay,
but we were
But they're people
advertising,
around, usually it's
Yeah.
a full day,
okay.
you know.
Yeah, like
we
I started in the
started
morning
2 days.
when I'm around and people are sipping coffee and coming from breakfast and shopping books.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was one lady here, she said, I drove up from Connecticut and the advertising said started at 10, and oh. You know, the weather was not good, so we had to postpone. But yes, there were people shopping as we were putting the books out.
Yeah.
And as we were hauling them away. So are you done with this box? We're talking about.
For choice surprise, guys.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, Bex.
No worries. It's great.
No, but why couldn't we do a smaller version inside?
You
If it
can
looks like bad
Or
weather,
for the
just
patrons.
fine, yes. Set up tables inside.
You mean for the soup straw?
No,
For-
she's saying
for
in the
whenever
future, anytime
A
there's
book
a,
sale.
anytime there's one, if weather seems to be an issue, we should have a backup plan, contingency, always just be, at least bring some in, so
Yeah.
that the sale can continue.
Okay,
If,
that makes sense.
There was some discussion about that, we, you know. I think that's definitely feasible, we would just need to coordinate it, I think, ahead of time a little better, just obviously. If it moved inside, we would have to either close the library temporarily or move around, you know, the shelves would have to move.
Yeah, I
And
mean, we
we'd
can
have to
only put
rearrange
up-
the space, right?
You can only put in so many boxes, and there's a
Right.
lot of boxes of books.
So definitely something for future reference, probably also, if we were gonna keep the library open in some capacity, I would. Definitely wanna be here and try to bring some, I wouldn't wanna leave Jennifer on her own, trying to manage that, all the traffic coming in and everything, so. Definitely food for thought for the future, we should have.
Okay, the bookcase downstairs,
Yes.
that, as you weed out books. You can put them there
Okay.
with there was a sign there that said,
I think it's.
$2 and $1 or something.
yeah, 3 to 2, 1 and 2, I don't know what it was.
I think that's a plan, yeah, and actually that, we did complete an initial reading of the general adult, fiction section up here. Lynn removed and identified and we removed 132 books from that section,
Where are they now?
they were part of the book sale.
Oh, they were,
Up to they
okay,
are either in storage or have
gone.
found new homes.
Yes, okay,
We are in the process of working on the nonfiction section up here, yeah, just went through a couple sections today, I think our adventure section, we managed to pull close to 15. Editions that were, or items that were either outdated or hadn't been circulated in quite a while, we're pretty generous with our. It's anything that hasn't circulated within the past 5 years, so, you know, I think that's. Gives a pretty wide time frame, so we're not, you know, not being too heavy handed about it. But if we find that we need to get a little tighter with that, see, that is pretty important because, and I'm gonna draw a couple lines down here because it's related. I met with Jenny Rozicki at McCullough Library in North Bennington to discuss our transition to the Catamount and the Koha operating platform. They said we are in line pretty much. They onboard libraries one at a time. We are behind Fletcher, no, Kellogg, we're behind Kellogg Hubbard, who has a pretty substantial collection, so it's gonna take them a while to get them on board and aim. But we're next after that.
Did
So
you find out about the biblio?
Biblionics is an annual contract that is up, I think at about end of December. Seems to
Oh,
be,
did that, oh, I figured, okay.
because I
So
think
if we only start in January, we have to continue that another year.
I spoke with Kara about that. She seemed to think that, if we reach out to them and kind of explain the situation, they might be able to either prorate us on an annual renewal, or maybe we can go month to month with them and explore with that. So I have to reach out to Biblionics and see what options they offer. But she seemed to think they'd be willing to work with us, because yes, it will be at least a 6 month transition to that new system. And we get charged 3 cents an item for every item that they move in our collection, hence.
And it's waiting just before we move.
Yes, exactly. And then, in fact, Jenny, and then I attended a meeting this past Friday with their directors in the Catamount system, and they all suggested that we make sure we weed as much as possible to save us on some costs. I think our nonfiction section isn't that large, so I don't think, that'll cut out some, but there is a lot that can be moved, and that also frees up room for updated, items, things that are a little more relevant and current. The juvenile section is going, and that's going to be this fall's mission. I think that's where we're gonna see the most come out, and that's also arguably like could be our largest single section right now. When you take all the subsections combined, so that's where I think we're gonna see a lot coming out. I just in my time here, I've seen a lot of books that, it's good they're being checked out again, but nobody's checked them out in 10 years. It's very scattershot. It's whatever catches a child, I want to read the book about trucks. So the book about trucks hasn't moved since 2012, but one kid found it and wants to read that book about trucks. So, right, my son checked out a book about firefighters that is 100% from like 1992. The photos kind of proved it, and it was a little outdated. We're reading. I was like, I don't know if this is true anymore, buddy. But like they were talking about fax machines in the fire, and he was like, "What's a fax machine?" Oh well, and like and park phones, and I said, okay, maybe this is a candidate. Maybe we get read this one and then find an updated copy of something that's a little more relevant. But so yeah, we are gonna continue weeding as the fall moves on, and we should be in pretty good space by the time they're ready to onboard us. And then that's a 6 to 9 month transition. They will kind of keep us updated as they move along with that.
Do we have both systems going at the same time?
So that system won't go live till the end of their migration.
Okay.
And then there is like a week trial period where they work out the bugs, anything that comes up, after they've migrated it, they will kind of test run the system with us a couple times. And then they actually bring in either other local librarians who are already on Koha's operating system, or some people from Bywater who developed the system and kind of handle the technical aspect of that for Catamount will come and be on site for the first couple days that we go live.
Okay.
So they'll be here to kind of, just emergency if we run into a problem, or
So
kind of walk.
we're actually talking June to September next year then.
Yes, yeah, but probably this time period next year is when we'll actually be up and running with that.
We're probably gonna need a new computer for that, right?
Unclear. Jenny seemed to think that we would, our transit, she said it wasn't so bad when Cola went through it a couple years ago. She said the fact that we're on Biblionics and already on a cloud-based system will make it a lot easier. Some of the libraries coming on are still using like manual entries at that end. She said that's insane if you have to catalog everything item by item, that takes forever. Since all our stuff is already in a database that's shared in a cloud system, it should be a pretty deep. Biblionics is gonna give us a chunk, or we're gonna be able to pull our chunk data set from the Biblionics database, hand it to Bywater, and they're gonna start going through it, just translating it over. So not as scary. She said, "Don't worry, it's not as scary as it sounds." And she seemed to think it would be pretty smooth. For that. So once I give them, now that I have that information about Biblionics, and once I talk to Biblionics, I go back to the Catamount group, say, this is where we're at, and they're gonna say, great, we're gonna start whenever they're done with Kellogg. They like to do it one at a time because it's pretty onerous and they don't want to overload their tech people and things fall through the cracks if you start multitasking with that. So,
Okay, moving along here,
Yes.
because we do all get to read your report ahead of time. I have a question
Yes.
on the website.
Mhm.
What do we pay for the existing site and who updates it now?
I have been unable as of today to find out what our annual expense is to WordPress. I was digging around for all afternoon looking for that.
Who is it?
WordPress is our current website host. That is who we host on. I don't know if there is a free version.
You haven't paid?
I don't remember paying it.
So we might be on the free version there is a free version of WordPress, it's their basic package, that you can use, that would probably indicate that that's what we're using. I update the website currently, it is at the discretion of me, and then if there's any real technical issues, I can reach out to WordPress and their tech people might be able to help out, or I Google search until I can figure out what the problem is. But to be honest, we're operating on a pretty rudimentary website.
Yeah.
It is, especially if we're using the free version. It's kind of a no frills. You can have a website, but that's why when these guys kind of cold called me, this revised group, and I said, yeah, let me listen to your pitch. They do, as I said, a lot of municipal organizations and like small local websites. They do libraries, a bunch of nonprofits.
Do you have any libraries that we could look at?
Yes, and
It's in there.
Yeah, it's in their package. They do have some in there. I don't know if it was in there for now the entire packet. I thought I think I.
Yeah, you attached it, but.
It's like a 40 page. It's pretty.
Yeah.
Well, it's a long packet, so I
Oh,
don't
okay.
print the whole thing out, but I can resend that.
Yeah.
They have some examples of that.
She's willing to do this. The top.
Great question.
Also not a very,
Exciting website.
no, it's not for my things.
My thing was, and this was just first impression, so I was smiling, but I looked at the first library has 578,000 patrons. And 72 staff members, or well, or something like that, I'm like, that's a little bit bigger, so it's hard for me to discern, so I kept going through just to
Right.
see, like, so that was one of my wonders, was, some of the advantages to Revive, it sounded like, were maybe more
Like going,
services
yeah,
than,
benefit us.
than necessary we need. And having read it, an hour and a half ago. So, but that was one of my wonders, was like, what does our town use? What
The town
does,
says WordPress.
yeah, what
as
does
well.
Bennington or Brattleboro use? Like, or McCall, like, what does, like, because it certainly makes sense to find that balance between what's the best use of your time and having a website that is,
There must be something free with WordPress.
there
because-
is, yeah, that's what
I'm
they're
saying for maybe even better for libraries, because now also the Dover Free Library looks like it's also WordPress.
which would make sense because Allison.
Allison went
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
right, so, like, that's why I think we have to go
She knows.
outside, like, we have to go,
Yeah,
or, talk to Allison about what she likes about it or what.
I think the conversation too, what I'm hearing you say, or maybe I'm just interpreting in my own words, is that, okay, we have something that isn't necessarily in the present day in terms of technology and accessibility and usability for a customer. I mean, I have gone for the library's website before and felt that it's kind of like not very useful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know, I definitely agree that there should be some, but we may not need to go from, a 1970s to like a
All the bells and
2025, maybe we
Right.
can do like some intermediary
Right, so we're
step.
talking about like, you could upload your taxes safely or some form, and I'm like, hopefully no one's uploading their tax, or like you're
Right.
getting hackers, and I'm like, all right, I understand we might get hacked, like, I'm not sure what our,
Yeah, what do we
what
actually
our,
need?
like, what our needs are, for security. And then also for,
For like the user interface,
Yeah.
because I think that right now, if I go to the library's website, it's very sort of choppy and like the experience that you have as the user is not super intuitive.
right,
It's
Right.
very clunky.
Right.
So I think that if there's some way to make it feel more fluid without, we're not a tech company, it doesn't need to be like that.
Absolutely, and I mean, that was one of the things they pitched us on, is some of the. They try to push their customized option, which I think is a little upset, it's also like pretty expensive. So I kind of told them we probably weren't interested in a $10,000 to $12,000 website. That's something for like a municipality that has a bunch of. They can say, that they, and this is what I put in here, this is where these numbers I'm coming from are, they do template building, like, so basically they. Put your information into a template they
Right.
built, and those are some of the examples, if you read all the way to the end of that thing that I sent, they give you a couple options for their templates, where they will basically plug our information in, they migrate all the stuff over themselves. And then it's a little more user friendly, on the back end for us. And on the front end for the patron, it's a little easier to figure it out, they help streamline it. They also have 24/7 tech support, so it's instead of me trying to figure out, when will WordPress respond to this issue I'm having, and who do I even talk to because it's WordPress? You call them, say, hey, I'm having this issue, or I want to know how to do this. They'll walk you through it. So there are definitely some advantages to it. They have it's a 4-year contract to sign up with them. So, which actually they offer a pretty decent deal, since instead of paying that 2,700 in the first year, you can go on a 4-year payment plan, since you're gonna sign up with them anyway for a 4-year contract. Comes out to a little over 1,500 annually for the website and that includes the tech support. And the paying for the domain and all their upfront work with migrating stuff over. So this is one company I'm happy to explore more, but I thought it was an interesting, I do think our website could use some work. I'm familiar with WordPress, but I'm not a web designer, so there are limits to, my abilities to update it. I've been kind of slowly piecemealing, trying to make it a little more user friendly, but it's not consuming, especially if you're not, again, if you're not doing a background in web design, things that, somebody who does that could probably do in half an afternoon, might take you a week to figure out. So I think, might be worth exploring. I know it kind of roping back into the Catamount group. Jenny did say that some of the smaller libraries use the Catamount database as kind of their website too. There is a way to do that in Koha. It's not flashy. It would be a lateral move, I think, for us to do that. And especially if we're not paying for WordPress, I don't know that it would make a whole lot of sense. It's not attractive to. She showed me that's like very small libraries doing that. Just because they don't want to bother with the domain, so.
I was just wondering about priorities, like, like. All of our staff you're all still learning, like so what are your. Like who makes the list of like, all right, we know we have to do Catamount, we know, like, so that, all right, and that involves, it involves weeding, it involves like XYZ, all right, so now we have to back up our time. And then what's like, that's partly why I said, like, aren't the doors under this, like, what's our priority, like, right? So it's like, what are, like, we had a list that we did with Lynn last month about like the priorities about like lunch coverage was was a thing that was like that need, like, so I wondered like who helps make that decision about what are the things that we're going to focus on in the next 2 months, like as you get your feet underneath and your staffing underneath, and then like, how do we? So is looking at a web design a winter task because,
Yeah,
or, a February task, because in January, you're gonna be working with Catamount, trying to figure, like, what's the piece of that? So I wanted to bring that up, like, there's a lot that we do in our library, and so what, are we, as a board, do we have some priorities that, like, do we wanna make sure, like, oh, we wanna get our community clubs and things going, or continuing, like, that's a priority for us, and then this is another, so. I bring that up to the table. It's a good point.
It is, but I think this is worth pursuing.
I think so as well. There's no timeline on this either, which is not like, it's not like this is a bunch of. Yeah.
I'm saying now, like you
Well,
would put it up there, like this month or next month.
I think it depends on what kind of time we have to spend on it to develop.
Right.
And if they can do it on their own, I think,
So it's a 4 to 6.
That would eat up almost all of the online services budget.
so I think that there's gotta be a happy medium, because we have a website for our business, and I know it doesn't cost, it would be $125 a month, basically.
Right.
And I know it's not that much, but I think it's probably somewhere closer to like the $75 a month range, which I don't know how that really, if that closes the gap per se, but I think that it'd be good to use this as one data point and then see if we can get a few other data points for other website hosting situations, and then just make the comparison, like you're saying, if it takes our time, that's also a cost.
Right.
That,
I mean, $1,200 a year is $100 a month.
Exactly.
So, I know that's
yeah,
apparently not too bad.
no, I mean,
It's
it's
kind of-
fair, so I think I think we continue the conversation with more data points.
Yeah.
So then are we asking Max and his staff if someone has to deal with the website to record that time? Because otherwise we won't know.
Yeah, like how much time
Right.
you are spending on it, well, it sounds like you're spending a
Like,
substantial amount.
I'm essentially the only one who's updating.
Okay,
That
so maybe
hadn't
just-
been updated since like the beginning of like end of June, I think, when I came on, so I was like,
Yeah.
oh, we gotta get these old
Yeah.
programs, we were
Yeah.
advertising programs that hadn't happened in weeks, and
Right.
I was like, we need to get that out of here,
So if you're finding like 3 hours a week out of your however 20 hours, or whatever 24 hours, like it's like, wow, that's
Yeah.
a chunk of time.
Yeah, that could be used elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think once to get it up to where I would like it to be, it'll take less time.
Right.
There's a little bit of like, upfront, it's gonna take more than weeding out some of the older stuff. I'm figuring out where it was left, and kind of what we were operating on. But I think it is important to think about the website, especially if goals to try to bring young adults and like
Right.
teenagers, older kids into the library. That's where you're gonna catch their eye.
Yeah.
It's better, because you can advertise a program, they're gonna go right to the website. That's how they think. I have a 20-year-old, they live on their phones. They're always gonna check your digital presence, no matter what they're doing. And I think for programming, having a website that, I don't know that we have it. I think we can probably maybe find a better deal than these guys, but I think it is something we definitely should consider in the near future, is trying to update our web presence a little. Program.
Agreed.
Other than go through everything else on Max's list, because he's been very busy here. Sorry, have any other questions on his report? I have one.
Yes.
Settled on a cap of 3 new books.
Okay.
That'd be great, just to save you some time in the future, even if I don't have it on here.
Okay. The patron who didn't pay for a book. Don't you think 3 books per patron and 5 reserved is very lenient?
Yes. I was trying to softball that one in, since we don't have a standing policy, I've been told as of yet, about limits on either. And I didn't want to create a revolt among patrons right off the bat by coming in my first month.
Take that many new
Yes, I'm gonna have to tell somebody today that they have 5 books up on reserve right now that they haven't picked up. and they keep adding new ones, and Lynn had to be like, you get it.
Yeah.
People go online, again, this is where I think the new systems will be able, with the Koha system, will be able to put limits on that. But people reserve, say, oh, I see that book in the catalog, I wanna check that out, and they do it individually and maybe don't even realize how many they've racked up. A lot of, we have several patrons who come in and check out 5 to 10 books at a time. And then they go through the new, they come in, look at the new books, say, I'm gonna read that, and then 4 or 5 days later, this happens a couple times since I've been here. They bring them all back and say, oh, I only read 2 of them. But I didn't know if I would like this one, so I wanted to check out other ones just in case. And that's why I think there's,
Okay, so this is the first step, I hope,
Yes.
into getting even more
Mhm.
strict.
yes. I think, yeah, like I said, I didn't wanna create a total revolt, cause the new books are what moves anything.
Yeah,
But I think that, especially with the reserve items, they can't see, but if you look to our reserve shelf is like exploding right now, because people have.
we only keep them up there for a week, don't we? 2 weeks. And they've been a week, 2 weeks after they've been notified?
Yes. I would say 90% of those up there came in the past, in less than a week though. And we've had a lot of ILL requests and a lot of reserves in the past 5 days. So sometimes people don't make it down. I imagine by Friday, a lot of those will be gone. It's hard. People request them during the week. Our deliveries come in on Monday and Thursday for ILL. Those are hard day. I mean, I know personally Mondays and Thursdays are difficult if you're working all day to get down, especially with if we close at 4. A lot of people, I don't get home till 5:30 or 6, so I wouldn't be able to do it. So Fridays, a lot of people come in, pick up for the weekends or even, a little later, and I've noticed that seems to be when a lot of those things. go
That's
down.
fine, but within a week seems sufficient when they've been notified.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I am, this is my observations from the first couple of weeks.
Okay,
So I think I'm okay with imposing more stringent limits. I just didn't wanna
do
come in
it.
heavy handed in the first couple of weeks
Okay,
and she, until I got them,
I'm ready.
then so.
She starts.
That was kind of my
There you go.
way of making sure that everybody was on board with the fact that we are going to impose limits. Because we have already heard a couple, even with this softball, I have had more than one patron say, well, so and so let me do this, or so and so let me do that, and so we're kind of trying to like slowly be like, well, so and so is not here anymore. That's the issue, is it's taking new books out of circulation for a couple weeks, and by the time they come back in, we've already had 2 shipments of new books, so then the new books get pushed way to the back, people.
We did share the first time she had to cut somebody off. I think she came up and put down, who did 10 or 15, Lynn? 10 or 15, she just went to all the new books, and like, pick, and took all the new books in the front.
Oh my God,
And
that's,
Lynn told her she couldn't do that, and she said, well, yes, I can. And she said, but no, we got a limit of 5, 3, whatever it was. So, she says, honestly, are you gonna read all of these books in 2 weeks?
There's no possibility.
My family reads them too. Well, the work around is everybody in your family can get a library card because they don't all get checked out by one person.
The other thought process with the 3-5 too is it is. Taking out 5 adult books as opposed to taking out 5 children's books is a little different.
Yes.
Children's books, I understand more checking them out in bulk, they're small, my kids, they get bored after reading books 3 times, you read 3 times in a row, they wanna read another one. So, that, we're kind of feeling that, I think eventually it might get a little more specific, and maybe children's can be their own, have their own policies around that, but I thought that was we all kind of talked about it, me, Jennifer and Lynn. And decided that 3-5 was a good starting point, and we'll go from there.
It just starts.
all right, let's move to the things that Max needs a decision on. One was workshops.
Yes.
And you did sign up for the,
The grant
Grant
writing I
writing.
signed up.
I noticed these others are library journal. Are those what workshops, library journal workshops have we ever gone to before?
I don't know, I think we've ever gone to this.
I didn't think so.
We subscribe to both the library journal and the.
Well, we won that award. Right, that was the library journal.
Yes,
Really?
yes.
So Allison did something with them. She would go to do stuff with them. Didn't come out of just thin air.
All part of the sustainability.
Okay. But she had that whole. I mean, at least that year, she was working with people, she wasn't.
I guess I didn't realize that. I didn't know.
I don't know.
Because I said, wait a minute.
I'm just saying that she would come back and report, like, oh, I learned this about, oh, we have to do it this way, and then we have to do it that way, and was that all through the journal?
Most of that was
Right?
through the Department of Libraries.
Okay.
Vermont Department of Libraries.
Okay, all right, well, there you go, I was just making the link between the award and.
Are these all online courses?
Yes. Those are all, I didn't intend to all of them, but those are ones that I thought might be beneficial. To either myself or Lynn to, possibly, you get continuing education credits for the certification. Even when you take things outside of FitLib's offerings. So that was just offerings that they, again, I looked at a list and said, oh, these might be interesting, and I didn't quite know what the historical policy on continuing ed had been here, so figured I'd throw it out. And
These are certificate of leadership program, is that an ongoing thing, like a 6 months program or something, or is it?
I believe I don't even know that it goes 6 months, but yeah, it's a multi course.
What was that one?
The certificate of
Oh,
leadership.
In his report. Oh, okay,
That's
okay.
okay. So that is basically Vermont's version of, that's a 5-year. That's
to
to
get certification on.
Vermont libraries.
Right.
Yeah. Me and Lynn are both currently enrolled in that. So
It was a condition to which we hired.
Right, okay, yes. So I didn't bring the other ones you suggested.
I didn't have, I know, I'm going to look, I think you're.
Oh, it was-
that email.
They got,
Oh. It was just you and me, I guess.
yeah, I think that was kind of an aside conversation, but when you put it on the agenda, I said, well, let's
You've got the grant writing,
Was going to.
that one I'm going to.
Yeah.
The next one is
fundamental.
2-week course. Or or is it so many hours and you can do it anytime during
No,
that
it's
2-week period?
It's a 2-week course, it's structured, I believe as such.
And
So
then
I'm not looking to any of these were just always on the lookout for continuing ed.
leadership of frontline staff, I'm not sure about that. Social media marketing and engagement for library journal.
Yes,
It's October, that sounds like a good one.
that sounds like a yes.
Budget management fundamentals, library journal. For $239, I'd say no.
Mhm.
Library management training accelerated course. June 5th, 12th, 2025.
So we've got plenty of time to decide on that one.
Yeah. $356.
Wait, what's our fiscal? I'm confused again. What's our budget is for?
June to June, and it's
June to June.
July 1st to June.
Okay, July 1st. So that next June would still be this. Okay, this is budget. I guess we need to look at that against whatever we allocated. Don't we have a line item for,
Yeah, yes.
so maybe what we could
Staff
do is,
development. Sorry, those was writing. Listening.
it'd probably be good to know what we put in that category in recent years.
Well,
$1,000 is
it's about $1,000. We haven't spent a whole lot in the last few years.
Okay, But if you just did like one or two off there, that's like what, 500?
I guess my question would be, are any of these similar to Vermont Department of Libraries?
There are some
Classes.
overlaps for sure, and so the Vermont Department of Libraries offers, it's kind of a spring, fall. It's hard to know in advance sometimes what they're going to offer too far ahead, they kind of do it, but, I've been talking with Joy Worland, and so there are gonna be some offerings. Lynn is actually going to take their core cataloging course, which starts in like 2 weeks. We discussed that today, we're gonna because of some of the staffing, it does require time in the Vermont courses, require time during the day where you have to be there and not like there physically, but like online. We decided that it would be probably in our best interest to kind of bounce back and forth. So I'm going to take some electives this fall while she does the core course, since that's a little more labor intensive. And then we're going to switch. I'm going to take the core course in the winter while she does some electives. So that way we can cover for each other, because those couple hours I think it was Wednesday for the core course she's taking, she's gonna have to be either at home on the computer or downstairs on the computer and won't be available to run circulation desk. So I'm gonna have to be up here to do that and, kind of do the daily operations, and then vice versa when I'm taking courses. Unfortunately, they don't offer them on weekends or evenings, so it's
See, at least they do it all sometimes, didn't they?
vacation.
He said he would do it on his own, even if we didn't require it.
Yeah, no, okay. I guess my concern on the fundamentals of librarianship, it sounds great, but you're talking 2 weeks in October.
Right.
That we would lose you.
That is true.
I'd say with that one off. Social media marketing, I think probably that would be a very good one to
That would
take.
probably be my choice out of all of them. I think if, as far as the ones I thought might be applicable, I think that would be beneficial.
And the one next June, we can decide as we get closer. If you want that one. So I would, grant writing you've already signed up for.
Yes.
And I think we're in agreement in social media marketing. Great, thank you. Budget. Fundamentals, people change. All right.
No, but there's not make qualified to take the desk. Next question.
Hey.
Wait. We did as an interim until we got a director. And he's probably still correcting some of my errors.
I thought it was fun, and I'm
was
very
fun.
glad that I did it. It was a valuable learning experience for sure. Being there to really see everything that the people that come in and the oddball questions that they ask. And not oddball, but it's like, wow, I never really thought about asking that at the library.
Okay, can we move on? Prime discussion. Did everybody get that email or was it just? Okay. I'm certainly willing to share my crime, but. If people want the library to. Get their own. How much do we order from them?
A fair amount. Wow.
So we're paying for shipping for all of that.
Currently, yes, we pay for shipping
Oh,
on anything.
$139 more than pays for the shipping.
Right,
yeah.
It really does. I mean, even if the deal, my question was, so they have a business bundle. Where that would be where you link, if you're already paying for Prime, you can link Pettee to your personal account. You get the free business and you pay no additional cost. And it's like slightly cheaper per month than having the standalone business. I don't know if for proprietary sake, it might be more beneficial to just have the library have its own business. It's still pretty affordable. I think it comes out to like $49 or $59 a month. But I figured I would put out both options.
$139 a year.
It was
Okay, maybe-
179 a year for the one by itself.
Okay,
So the business essentials was 179.
I'm not remembering.
a year.
I think that's worth by that expense.
That's only 14.90.
That's where, there we go. So yeah.
No brainer. I think it makes more sense to do it the library as its own account
Yes.
for cohesiveness of everything. If it's
Right.
in your name, then at some point someone has to transition it over.
Right, I agree. Yeah, that was kind of my.
Okay, go for it.
Right.
I need to be, I make a motion
Yes.
for Max to start a Amazon business Prime account for the library.
So moved.
Yes.
Second,
Yes.
all in favor?
I-
Okay, back to the last few things that were on the agenda. Heat pump systems, we're gonna have to put off for another month. I don't have the electrical costs. You can come try to get them for me. And all you're looking at are the heat pumps and inverters. There's a big electrical cost that goes with it. The other vendor who included the electrical costs was the $43,000. So I'm assuming that's gonna come up close to that. But another large expense is we have to have our fuse box upgraded and get more power in here. Only working on 100 amps.
Oh, yes, you remember.
So we've got to get 200 in here
Is it
and
underground. Is the library connected overhead?
no, they come in, the fuse box is in the basement,
Okay.
so. The what, and I don't know if that's a complication or not. The fact that it comes in underground,
As long as it's in,
as long as they can pull a new one down,
Yeah.
I think we're okay.
yeah,
But I haven't got the quote on that yet either, so the whole thing is,
it's Green Mountain Power, yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Well, it's an electrician who works with Green Mountain
Yeah.
Power. But they change out the whole fuse box.
Yeah. We had to do this in our house.
What does it cost you to put more in?
Well, actually, it's still happening and it's much more complicated than just running the line, just like what's probably here. Green Mountain Power provides 200 amps at the pole, but what's running from the pole to my house is only capable of delivering 100 amps. And because the run from the pole to my house, you know what it looks like and where my house is. It's currently run above ground on trees. And Green Mountain Power says that that's not safe and needs to be run properly. So they're charging to put in poles and run the line, and
Okay.
it's a whole host of things. It's not really helpful.
Anyway, I'm waiting for that. I can send you the information as soon as I have it for the comparison, and then we can decide on it next month.
Excellent.
Can you remind me what we had money for that in what place?
Some in renovation. We still have a federal grant outstanding that we
Okay.
asked for 28,000.
Okay.
And Max is working on a new grant, a state grant, buildings and grounds or something. We lost out on the sustainability for libraries grant, but he's working on one which is a matching grant. But if we,
Human Services and Educational Facilities grant.
but we,
This one was, it's due September. So.
before, you did it in 10 days, we
We got.
can do that. Especially if you use that in your grant writing workshop. then that helps
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, the grant is pretty straightforward. We have most of the elements there. It's just, they want.
Everything.
Project breakdown. They want the call, like
I can
a
give you
firm
that.
estimate of everything that's gonna be included. Who's
We
gonna
give you
do it?
that, we
Great.
attached it all to the
We're gonna find.
to the other grants. No, Carol doesn't want to do it anymore.
Give them, show me the numbers and I'm gonna put it together.
Good foundational start then, how about that?
There you go.
Okay, the other thing we wanted to talk about, book storage.
Yeah.
What did the friends say?
Many things. As we sat around the table, everybody had something to say, and I'm old and deaf, so.
Neither one.
Anyways, when I asked Teresa about it, if the Friends would consider that. The books are currently in the election closet, which is the music, the closet, the big closet in the music room. And we don't pay anything for it, the town doesn't pay anything for it. But it is full. And I asked about another closet. It is a big closet. Well, she's got a lot of election stuff, all the booths.
Oh,
all the-
okay.
All the
Okay.
standards,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
that stuff. Um, um. When I asked about maybe another closet or nurse's office or something, I found out somebody has an office in the nurse's office already. And there are some other closets, but unknown whether or not they would be available. And then. But that was the most unorganized, not unorganized. It was a very chaotic meeting. Very different than what we usually have, just because there were so many conversations going on. And a lot of stuff not really being decided. Is
They're
that what you felt?
brainstorming.
Yeah, there was a lot of brainstorming going on, or a lot of commenting going on. About everything. So decisions were not made. I would approach this again at next meeting.
Well, should one of us approach OFAC and say, hey, what would you charge us for a room or a large closet?
Yeah,
What's our targeted like square footage? What would be ideal? Do we know?
Not knowing how much is left over from the books, you know, I mean. I need a ton of space.
This room.
Yeah, that's
I was about to say, that's what I was thinking, it's like.
Is this a
room-
good,
Absolutely.
okay, this room is more than we had stored down in the fire station, isn't it?
depends how high you wanna stack. I don't,
Well,
we don't,
just square footage.
we
Yeah.
don't have left the same amount that we had at the fire station,
You have less or more?
less. Way less,
So
I think
something like
there
this
was
room
less
for-
this year than, I mean, that weekend that we took them out of the system. We did a lot of those.
Yes, I know, I did.
And what was
It's
different,
written all down here.
what was different this year is that at the end of the sale, they were not all piled in a vehicle to be taken to Goodwill or anything, they all went back into storage for the next sale. I think that we had far less than what we had at the fire station. I did ask about, somebody that works with the. Not Voices of Hope, but whoever rents the office portion of the old fire station.
I thought it was Voices of
Yeah.
Hope.
Is it Voices of
I
Hope?
think it is.
Okay. There's a couple of storage rooms in the back, like Brian's old office. And what used to be the jail cell, and then there's one other. Jail. Well, but they're being used. Not on a daily basis, but more as maybe a private meeting place. For counseling or whatever. So probably the only thing that would be available would be out in the bays.
What about
I
where?
thought that wasn't available anymore.
I don't know.
I didn't think so either. What, you know where Gretchen Havlick is sitting now?
Yeah.
Isn't there's like several rooms in there that didn't have anyone in them as of a couple months ago.
Oh,
Like
the old
the-
fire station, or the old
The
police
old, yeah,
station.
cause she's in the front office, there's
Yeah.
like a conference room, there's a back corner room where there used to be a small little desk, there's nothing in there, it's like a weird, painted a weird color, but anyway, that was empty. And then. Pretty sure that was another small room, old holding cell,
Yeah, there would have been.
those were
So
empty.
there.
The only issue with those is they're in flood place. The whole first floor there is floodplain.
Oh, yeah, but isn't the office here also?
Yeah, so was,
The whole
firehouse.
firehouse is a floodplain,
yeah,
that's why it was moved.
Yeah.
So it's all floodplain,
Which is why OSAC
was more appealing,
was more appealing.
so we start there.
So yes, I think give Janet
Yeah,
I don't know if Jane is doing it all, but I called her first
Yeah,
and see.
Can't hurt to just start the conversation
Okay.
there and see what they say.
So why don't I start with Therese, actually? And,
Well,
Cause all we were
It-
really
it-
asking was, would they pay for it?
right,
Not
Yeah.
if they had to
If we
decide
can-
the space.
No, I
Which
see.
seems like what the conversation was in your meeting. We weren't asking them to choose a space, we were just like, would
Oh, with
Yeah,
friends of the
you pay for
library.
it.
with the
we-
friends of the library, cause it's their
Subsidize the
fundraiser,
cost.
yeah.
yeah, so why don't we figure out then what it would cost?
Yeah.
And then take that to the friends.
Then it's a
Say,
direct question.
So I'll call Rosa
Answer.
and see if they have space and what they would charge us
Right.
for it,
Yeah,
and then I'll let you know.
good team.
Right, cause I think the only other thing I would say, and I do picture the day the last time, 2 years ago or whatever. But if our staff is going to madly be weeding for the next 4 months. So that when
Yes.
things are going out to Catamount, I think we're gonna find that it'll be even fiercer. Because there's a mission
yes.
to move on to the next, our
Right, I
next
agree
piece
with
of the,
you.
okay, our
I
library.
don't think you were a trustee at the time when we went down, when OSAC wanted us to consider renovating here, moving to OSAC.
I just had joined, so
Okay.
Allison had given us the tour of those rooms and like that.
Ton of rooms up
Yeah.
there and none of them are in use.
Yeah, and there's an elevator and there's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
There were even some big closets up there. Between the classrooms. All right, I'll call Janet. And see.
Now the Blueberry Fest is over, she should be able more available.
I don't know, let's get all stretched in. Okay, is there anything else that needed discussion tonight?
I just wanted to ask a question. I believe at one of our prior meetings, we had approved money for laptops,
Yes,
Yeah,
but they have not been purchased yet.
Max is gonna take care of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you explain why I like that? If I was a kid, coming in the back door, and I looked into that room and I saw these old guys sitting at the computer. Yeah, if I saw these guys at the computer,
And
I wouldn't even come up the stairs, I would turn around and leave.
that's why I was pushing it with Kira, because I saw that happen once.
Okay, so then it involves, okay, so if some adult comes in to use one of those computers, can we just say, I'm sorry, no, here's the laptop.
I
head
don't
into the
mind
reading
them
room."
using them, but I thought we were gonna put a sign there
There are-
saying that
There
young
are,
adults get
Priority.
right,
priority.
there are signs there, but if a young adult doesn't make it up the stairs,
To see the sign. Or if they leave beforehand.
yeah,
That's a tricky one. I mean, I can see, I think. Ideally, yes, they should be free, that's what they were intended for. My observation in the past couple of weeks is that, except for the past couple of days where we've had kids consistently on those computers, which was encouraging.
absolutely.
90% of the people who come up, they use them. It is hard to tell people they can't use computers that sit unused all day.
Yeah.
Especially because the people who are consistently using them are pretty, we have some regulars who come in and a lot of them are using that to, they're not just, some of them are just, messing around, checking their email. A lot of people are coming in to print out pretty important documents or apply for jobs or apply for housing.
But you can do that on a laptop.
You can, yes, the laptop, and that is, it is just a hard sell to say, go use this laptop, and they say, well, but there's computers right there that aren't. And then when they sit here doing it the whole time, the computers remain empty, and that is something that, obviously I have to develop a policy. That we're, that we might just have to say, sorry, guys. To use.
Well, summertime is different
right.
from
Right.
school time.
Right, yeah.
I mean, during school hours.
Unless they're homeschool kids.
Well, and I wonder if there's a way
There are a
to
couple
ease
that
it.
have
I
been
mean,
very
it
nice.
sounds like you're doing a lot of good thinking about like, how do we, so these are relatively new to us, like in the last year. And so it's not like anyone has a lot of experience with what the routine could be. But we did have a discussion last year too about, do we put, starting at 2:45, so our schools get done at 2:45. So is that, like. And then the trick will be, to your point and your point, how long do they stay unused? Right?
Yeah.
Like that piece. And then I wonder too about, is that when, in a way, we need some PR around, I mean, we've had this, Max, for you to know that we have night soccer games.
Okay.
Under the lights. So is that, or do we start pumping up an advertisement of like, come from 4 to, the game starts at 6, come from 4 to 5:30, do you get your homework done, we'll have snacks, come for your computer. We had this discussion with Allison and Jen Nielsen and the people who are trying to get our youth to have safe spaces.
Right.
Like, is that how we start, so that adult patrons see, oh, there's this soccer schedule, and here are all the home night games. The computers, like, do we start there? The computers are for kids on these days.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna keep them open. Like, we're not like, it's
They're
just
reserved
these
for-
days.
Yeah.
So it's not every day, and then,
And as an alternative, there's also a laptop.
right, we always have,
Which
that
I
sort of
think
thing.
checks the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's a way to ease into those sort of pieces, or if you offer an after-school program for, 3rd through 5th graders on a Wednesday, then it's like, okay, these are.
Reserved
like,
for programming.
These are, maybe just alternate those reservations, and so it's not every day. But it's,
Yeah.
that might be something to think about.
It gives it like more oomph behind the limit. It's not just like, oh, you can't use it. It's like, oh, we have a reason, there's a justification. I think that makes the selling of the point, which is what you felt, like a little bit easier.
Right, absolutely. If we can develop some programming around it, that would just,
And some ideas of like, we're trying to get kids in here, so we have to make these available for them.
right.
And so you're right, there might not be anyone in there this week, but
But
we're working, this is new, so we're working new, and we need these. This is why they were, and that to somebody is a reason. Might not be the reason you want,
No, absolutely.
but
Yeah.
it's the purpose why we got them.
yeah,
so
it's more
we're
reason
trying to
than just
figure
they're
out-
not available.
But if you have a laptop and you can, or.
Absolutely.
Use it.
Right.
And I think even at the best of times, if you, an adult especially, you say, we have a laptop and you can go there,
Right.
which would you prefer?
Ah, nice. Like in the mornings.
Yeah,
Here,
yeah. I mean,
these
it's-
are for our young adults, but no one's here right now. Would you like your laptop?
Yeah,
One loves the choice.
I think a lot of people would prefer a laptop.
Yep, I would.
I
And
just-
those cushy chairs.
Exactly.
Sorry, what was that?
Well,
With the charging station.
Exactly.
one of my issues with those computers is that the security, anybody can see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
But, so I'd much rather have a laptop here.
Right. It's good if we have people gaming, but not so good if you're trying to get your taxes done.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, private stuff, I mean,
Yeah.
emails or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, it's-
totally.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I will you want me to get you the soccer schedule?
That would be great.
Alright.
Yeah, and then we can see, see if we
And
can
I'll
work
see.
out some staff coverage for after hours or, developing some kind of program around that.
Yeah, and we talked about having like, Jen Nielsen, so we have a drug-free school group in our community, Deerfield Valley. I'm sure different names, and so they do have a presence in the school, like they have a group and they go up to conferences in Burlington and they do things like that, so, and there's a leadership group, I don't know if there's still a leadership group. But when, like Allison and I met and what with the leadership group, 2 or 3 years ago now, and they helped design that room. Like, what would you like in there, and what, like, where would you like to sit, like, and they were like, we need students, like, we like, you're gonna have something, we're gonna need students.
Yeah.
And so, it was that's, but they brainstormed with us, and then they came. And they helped say how they'd like to sit, and Allison did that work with them, so,
Awesome.
yeah, so that was Jen Nilsson, so I'll reach out to Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Cindy and see, start there,
Great.
yeah.
Yes.
September 10th, right, is the next one.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I'm sure to journal at 6:34 p.m.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Yeah.
I guess you can also.
Did the first one, well done.
Yay! How's Brian? Oh, yeah, aren't we crazy?
So that's not new. Is there any news?
Um,
Well, we're not off yet.
sorry, he's not watching.